My name's Glenn Lassiter. I'm coming up on 71 so fast, I can't even see the taillights. Retired Army officer, lived all over the world, married 49 years. One son, lives in Parker. We've been here for about 30 years in Denver. 25 years in the Army or in the military, machine guns, rifles, pistols, aircraft, rockets. I mean, in a lot of instances, the noise is pretty extreme. And I was also in very high-tech electronics. As a result, you get a lot of tones, a lot of those things going on. So I believe I came out of the military when I retired with some hearing loss. Over the last 5 or 6 years, it's probably become more noticeable. And it got to the point where I was really, really tired of saying what 30 times a day, and my wife was really tired of having to repeat herself every time she said something. The last discussion we had was I wasn't paying attention or something like that, and I'm trying to explain, of course, I pay attention, and the TV's too loud, and well, I can hear, I can't understand. It's like it's garbled. And at that time, a advertisement came on TV, and I'm watching this Dr. Julie talking about her experience and her family history with it, and she was extremely convenient to where we live. So I thought, well, maybe I better get it checked. Maybe I better do something about it. They advertised that the hearing check was free. Okay, fine. I'm not out anything if I don't like it, or if I'm not happy with the results, or if I decide to do something different. So I came in. I walked in the door expecting to get a sales job. I didn't get a sales job. It was very professional. It was very medical. I wasn't exactly sure what an audiologist was. Dr. Julie's a doctor, which is completely different than someone, you know, at the big box store or in the mall, you know, in the kiosk, you know, selling hearing aids. She actually has medical training. Coming in, I was thoroughly confident that I was going to address the problem and fix the problem. Whether it was going to be here or somewhere else remained to be seen. Turned out to be perfectly fine here. Met the staff, met Dr. Julie, and my wife was with me. We usually go to these appointments together, so both of us together can probably remember it. And a couple of things struck me right off the bat. We had a talk, and she asked a lot of questions about my history, where did I grow up, what did I do for careers, and she did a lot of sage nodding when I described my military experience. She explained hearing loss is relatively common in those fields. Then she went in for the test. I've had, I don't know how many tests over the years. The military probably once every 3 or 4 years. I've 3 or 4 times since I got out. I've never had a test like this one. Yeah, it was the tones and stuff, but it was very different in that it was repeated in different ways. Went through the tonal thing, and then she put something behind my ears, not in my ears. I said, how am I going to hear this? And went through that process. When we got done, we sat down again. She showed me the graph, explained what my hearing loss was, and it was probably more significant than it was a couple, 3 years ago. And this time it's on both sides, not just primarily on one side or the other. So she got on the computer, did some things, put some devices in my ears, programmed them, and the first word I said shocked me. Hearing myself was a shock, and like, holy crud. And it was truly life-changing. So my first notice was I could hear myself talk. Having more discussion with the doctor, my wife, she commented, "You're not yelling." I said, well, of course I'm not yelling. So no, I usually yell. I speak in a very loud voice. Now it's more of a normal tone of voice. It's much more casual. I thought, wow, things you don't notice, you know, as you go through the process. Left, said, try these out. Went home, worked with him for a few days, a week or so, came back. She did some more programming, and I walked around talking to myself all the time. And now my wife is complaining, speak up. I can't hear you. So we had some adjustments to make. I had to make adjustments. The two of us had to make adjustments. Our television set, I do watch a lot of television in the evening, usually was up around 20 to 22, 23. Now it's 11 or 12 on the scale, and I can hear it perfectly fine. I had a grandfather that had a hearing device, and it was a large box in his pocket with a white scringly wire that went up to something that stuck in his ear. Kind of looked like the earbuds, we have today. And you could always tell when he was tired of hearing Grandma talk, because he'd just reach over and turn the darn thing down. It was a family joke for decades. Well, Grandpa's done, he turned his hearing aid down. I figured I'm a technological guy. I've been in technical fields all my life. So I knew that, we weren't going to be dealing with the old Walkman size, hearing device. The devices I've got are small, and within 15 minutes after first putting them in, I don't even notice. Sometimes I'll just check, yeah, it's still there. I have no problem wearing them at all. They've never been uncomfortable. I've never felt like anything was plugging up my ears. I've never felt like I had to do anything different. Got to be careful taking a shower. They need to come off before you step in the shower. I've only stepped in the shower once with them on, and unfortunately I didn't get them wet. But that's how you don't even notice them. I get used to them. First thing in the morning, I don't sleep with them, of course, but first thing in the morning when I put them in, and I'll talk for a minute just because I can now hear the sound of my voice so much better, and it's that same initial burst I had in her office when she first put them in, and I could hear my voice. It's a little bit of that every morning. Quickly that subsides, and it's just a normal day. I've got different programs on my devices. I only use one, and that's the universal one. It has automatically taken care of changes in environment. I can give you an example. If I'm in the home, usually not a lot of background noise, watching television or working on the computer, no problem. Get up and step outside, and there's a kind of a stiff breeze. For an instant, it's almost like blowing on a microphone. But within a matter of a second or two, that's attenuated automatically. I don't have to mess with it. I drive an extreme modified Jeep. I drive with the top down. I'm driving 50, 60 miles an hour. No problem. There is wind noise, but it's not the noise like blowing on a microphone would cause. I do some volunteer work with the Denver Police Department. The place where I work is very industrial, wide open. Their environmental control system is extremely loud. I walk in before I can even get to my cubicle, that noise has been attenuated, it's not even noticeable. And it's become, I've worn them now for 3 or 4 months, it's kind of the point now where I don't even notice the change anymore. It's just automatic. And I don't have to think about it, I don't have to worry about it. It just attenuates and takes care of itself. It's that unnoticeable. I'm extremely happy with it. It's basically changed our lives, both our lives. My son, I was in him, for years I was on him, stop mumbling, speak up. I'm not mumbling. And no, he didn't mumble. He's talking just like he always did, and it's not mumbling. I can actually hear and understand every word he says. So he thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread too, because I stopped giving him a lot of grief about speak up and stop mumbling. I wish I'd done it a little earlier even, maybe. I have a wide circle of friends, heavily concentrated in the veteran community. Sitting in a group talking, oh, hold on, gotta replace the battery. Go back and then it's, what the heck is that? What is that? What's my hearing aids, man? I didn't even see them. I didn't even know you had them on. I don't care if you know it or not. I'm not that problem. But then I start getting a lot of questions. I don't seem to be able to hear as clear as I used to. They're getting into that age group. I've recommended Dr. Julie to every person I've had that discussion with. I think more than anything else, what strikes me about her is her energy and her approach to helping me. I never had the feeling that it was business, never had the feeling that anybody was on a calculator figuring out how much money was coming in versus the cost versus the profit. It was personal. More than anything else, it was personal. I go to doctors that I've had for 30 years. You know, hey Bill, hey Glenn, and we do the deal and we go home. We don't get personal about it. I felt a lot more personal involvement from Dr. Julie than most of the doctors I go to. And that was kind of surprising. I'm not used to that from doctors. Time is money. They got to get them in, get them out. The more appointments I can make today, the more bills I can pay, the more overhead I can cover. I've never had that impression coming here. Everybody goes to the doctor. And you deal with 4 or 5 or 6 people, and the doctor swings by, hi, how are you, good to see you, take this pill, come back in a month, and he leaves, 4 or 5 minutes. First time we visited here, I spent almost 3 hours with Dr. Julie, and driving home, I commented to my wife, so what doctor spends that kind of time with an individual patient? I was very struck by how much time she was spending and how many questions she was asking, and I was fairly confident that she had all of the information that she needed to do what she needed to do to help me. And it's truly been life-changing. I strongly recommend her. Our experience has been great, better than most medical experiences I've had. The results are better than most medical results I've ever had. It's nice to know that any time of the day I got a problem, I got an issue, I can call up, come in, they can put the thing around my neck, do the programming, and fix any problems I've had. And if I continue with degradation of my hearing, they can adjust for that.